Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second webinar in our February Share the Love series. I'm Casey Branson, Director of Team Member Relations, and we are excited that you are with us for our How to Love Your Relationship with Money webinar. In this session, you're going to discover how to feel confident talking about money, smart strategies to make money work for you, and how to share the FFN opportunity with confidence. But before we bring on Story Pryor and our special guests, we wanted to take a moment to revisit a powerful message that we shared last week from Mel Robbins. It's inspiring and impactful. Watch this.
Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for everything in your life. Think about it. If you don't love yourself, how can you expect to show up confidently in your relationships, your career, or even your health? Self-love isn't selfish. It's a necessity. It's not about being perfect or having it all figured out. It's about understanding that you're not broken, you're evolving. And here's the truth. Waiting to feel confident or worthy before taking action is a trap. Self-love is built through action, through showing up for yourself every single day. So we're going to dive into what it really means to love yourself, not in a fluffy, feel-good way, but in a real, life-changing way. Let's break free from comparison, start celebrating who you are, and take steps toward building the kind of confidence and joy that transforms everything. Ready? Let's do this. Your relationship with yourself is the single most important relationship in your life. It sets the tone for how you interact with others, how you tackle challenges, and how you navigate the world. If you don't love yourself, it's like trying to build a house on a shaky foundation. It might stand for a while, but eventually it will crumble. Loving yourself doesn't mean being arrogant or self-absorbed. It means treating yourself with the same respect, care, and compassion that you so willingly give to others. It's about believing that you deserve happiness, success, and peace. Not because of what you've achieved or how you look, but because you're human. For many of us, self-love feels like an abstract concept, something that sounds good in theory but is hard to practice. We're often taught to put others first, to not be selfish, and somewhere along the way we internalize the belief that taking care of ourselves isn't a priority. But let me ask you this, how can you pour from an empty cup? If you're constantly giving to everyone else without refilling your own reserves, you'll burn out. Loving yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. When you take care of yourself, when you nurture your mind, body, and soul, you become a better parent, partner, friend, and colleague. You show up for others with more energy, more patience, and more love. Here's the thing, you're not broken. You don't need fixing to be worthy of love, especially your own. Society loves to tell us that we're not enough, that we're not thin enough, successful enough, or smart enough. We compare ourselves to curated versions of other people's lives on social media and feel like we're falling short. But here's the truth. You are enough just as you are. Loving yourself doesn't mean you stop growing or striving. It means you embrace who you are in this moment while still working toward your goals. Growth doesn't come from a place of shame or self-criticism. It comes from a place of acceptance and possibility. Confidence and self-love aren't magical feelings that suddenly appear one day. They're built through action. You don't wake up one morning feeling completely worthy and empowered. You create those feelings by showing up for yourself. When you commit to small daily actions like moving your body, eating nourishing foods, or setting boundaries, you send a message to yourself that you matter. Each small step builds momentum, and over time that momentum turns into confidence. You don't wait to feel worthy to take care of yourself. You take care of yourself to feel worthy. One of the biggest obstacles to self-love is comparison. We've all been there, scrolling through social media, looking at someone else's highlight reel and feeling like we're not measuring up. But comparison is a thief of joy, and it blinds you to the unique gifts and strengths that make you who you are. Instead of focusing on what others have, focus on what you bring to the table. Celebrate your journey, your growth, and your victories, no matter how small they may seem. Gratitude is a powerful tool for shifting your mindset. When you take time to appreciate what's good in your life and in yourself, you start to see just how much you have to offer. Loving yourself is a lifelong journey. It's not something you check off your to-do list and then forget about. It's a daily practice, a series of choices that reflect your belief in your own worth. Some days will be harder than others, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep coming back to the truth. You are worthy of love, especially your own. When you learn to love yourself, you don't just transform your own life. You inspire others to do the same. You show the people around you what's possible when you prioritize self-respect, self-care, and self-compassion. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect that can change the world. So let today be the day you stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth and start giving yourself the love and acceptance you deserve. Loving yourself is not just an idea or a passing thought. It's a commitment to show up for yourself every single day. Most of us have spent years putting others first, chasing approval or measuring our worth based on achievements, appearances, or the opinions of others. But deep down, we know that none of those things truly define us. Real self-love begins when you decide to stop seeking validation from the outside world and start finding it within yourself. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about coming home to who you already are. Too often we believe the lie that self-love is something we'll achieve later, after we lose the weight, get the promotion, find the relationship, or check off some arbitrary milestone. But that's not how it works. Self-love isn't conditional. You don't have to earn it. It's not reserved for some future version of yourself. It's available to you right now, exactly as you are.
Hi everyone, Story Pryor, growth strategist at First Fitness, and it is Love Yourself Month. We are in week 2 of our Love Yourself First webinar series. And if you recall, we played that video last week and it was so important to me. That message really hit home for me that I wanted to play it again. And I want to play it maybe every day. The message in that video is so powerful. And as humans, sometimes we don't always need to learn new things. We just need to be reminded. And so as we look at our Love Yourself Month, the message in that video is so powerful. And the voiceover in that video is Mel Robbins. She is a thought leader and an incredible personal development coach about mindset, about loving yourself. You'll be hearing a lot more about Mel Robbins as we talk about some things, but thank you for watching that video again. I hope you got some takeaways from last week watching to now this week. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about something that I do not love talking about. And I think there's a lot of people that are tuning in right now that also don't really love talking about this. And it is our relationship with money and how we view our money and our mindset around money, around talking about money, around spending money, about how much money we make, about how much money that we can show other people to make. I know that there are some limiting beliefs that I have had with money that have held me back. And so I'm really excited to bring a great friend and a great colleague that I have seen grow multiple businesses, be super successful in how she talks about her mindset with money. And now that she has developed so much wealth, she is helping other women talk about money, women and men, talk about money, how she got over her limiting beliefs, how she got over her mindset that was holding her back of harnessing the power that money has. Money is a beautiful thing when we can talk about it, when we can celebrate it, and it is something that we should be able and feel confident talking about. I know that probably one of my biggest limiting beliefs around money is every time I do talk about it, I feel selfish. I feel guilty. I also feel like in my upbringing, it wasn't really a good thing to talk about money, especially in my religion. We kind of made it very private. It was more hush hush. You don't talk about money. And so now we are in a world where we can monetize, we are able to share things that we love and make a residual income on. Talking about money should be a beautiful thing that we all feel confident about. So I'm going to bring on my special guest, CG Siddons, who's going to share with us about her mindset around her development of helping other women get a strong relationship with money. All right, so I am here with CG. As I shared, she has been such a great influence, a friend, a colleague. I have had the opportunity to see CG grow into an incredible business owner and just how she's been able to overcome her mindset, her beliefs on money, but just valuing ourselves. And so, CG, I wanted to have you on today. There's so many women that would love to hear from you about how you have helped or how you've identified. Do you have your mindset with money? What about your mindset around money was maybe holding you back? Why do women in the first place? Why do we have such a hard time thinking about money, talking about money? Can you share with us?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I am a huge fan and advocate of yours. So to
Oh,
do this with
thank
you
you.
is so fun, and to have, watched your journey and to just know what a powerhouse you are it's a privilege for me to be able to have this conversation with you. That is number one.
Thank you.
Number two, I don't know that I have a great answer for why women have challenges with money and their mindset. I actually like venture to guess men do too, and they're probably a little bit different. I imagine theirs are more around like the importance of being the provider and carrying the weight of that. Whereas, at least in my experience, my challenge was like, I've never been drawn to numbers. I kind of have always stuck my head in the sand. I didn't necessarily believe as I was kind of entering the workforce that I was built to be someone who made a lot of money. I didn't feel like I knew how to even manage or would know how to manage the money that was coming in. I kind of took the route of like, I'm just going to put my head in the sand. And I did that for a really long time until I thankfully had a mentor who basically kind of hit me over the head with a 2x4. And he said, CG, this is going to be the difference between one great financial season as my business started to grow. He said, this will be the difference between one great financial season or actually building wealth, what you choose to do from here on out. And so with his guidance and his mentorship and just kind of looking at all of the stories I was telling myself around money, I was able to really shift the way that I relate to it and the way that I'm setting up my life would
Mhm.
probably be the best way I could answer that question.
Yeah. And CJ, I love that you say that because at 41 years old, I feel like sometimes I'm relearning things that I was like, why didn't I know about this sooner on? Why didn't I really like embrace learning about this? And I, like you, I put my head in the sand. I never was really good at math, numbers, and we just didn't really have like I didn't connect with numbers, so it made me uncomfortable. Like you said, we stick our head in the sand. So what were some things? I know you said that you had a mentor, but what were some things maybe that built that confidence, or that you were able to like practice with money, practice with numbers? How did that work for you?
I think the first thing I did was I had the awareness that I was playing this game of like keeping up with the Joneses and like, oh, okay, if I'm making money, I should be spending it on designer bags or I should look a certain, I was so concerned with looking rich that it never occurred to me that building wealth was a completely different game. And
Mhm.
so it started with really unraveling that and getting clear on like, who is CG in this stage of life versus who was I trying to be because I was trying to look the part. So for me, I think that was number one. From
Sure.
there, it was this process of like mitigating or modifying my risk tolerance and building my certainty. So really educating myself slowly because I was extremely resistant to any conversation around this because I just felt like I'm not good at it. I don't know what to do. I feel overwhelmed. So it was a slow process. I want to say like the first books I read were, I think it was The Unfair Advantage by Robert Kiyosaki, and then his cash flow quadrant book. And it was this slow process of building up my certainty through education and going to events, which the first event I went to, like I wanted to cry. I was so overwhelmed at it. So that was the start, was really kind of taking on my education. And then from there, it was also a process of kind of looking at like, okay, for me, it was arrogance masking my insecurity. So I was operating as though everything I touched turned to gold because for a little while it was, and it was really fun. But I was unwilling to look at the lack of integrity that existed below the surface in terms
Mm.
of the way I was operating. So it took me some time to really become vulnerable and transparent and start to admit to people in my life who I trusted, who I respected, who I wanted support from, and say, like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing and I would like help. And it's challenging to do that when you're trying to look the part and sound smart and be significant. And so once I kind of stripped myself of that and realized there's so much more power and opportunity in getting the support of the network I have around me, if I'm just really honest about where I am and where I'm trying to go, that was really helpful. From there, it was connecting with ideas of like, okay, what if I want to build wealth and I don't like numbers? Like both of those things can coexist, but I had to get connected to the idea that I could set intentions without knowing exactly how they would come to fruition. So I want to build this portfolio and I don't want to be the person who manages it. But it takes courage to even say those things, number one. And then number two, it takes education to realize that they can exist. So even if I don't know how I'm going to do it, I'm going to start to declare that that's what I'm doing. And then from there, I really built my what we call like a prosperity network. I'm really intentional around the people I hang out with. I intentionally get in rooms with people who are constructive, who are uplifting, who I can contribute to, who can contribute back to me. And I started sharing with them, like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to build a portfolio. I want to build wealth. I want passive income. I have no idea what I'm doing. What resource can you share with me? What book can you provide to me? And then I was really intentional about taking whatever they were willing to give and really honoring that. And then from there, I just really got intentional about taking like the next little step in the process and running experiments. And there were some things that I invested in that, I mean, there was one thing I invested in that was an absolute dumpster fire. It was a really great lesson. But there were some things I did that like, okay, that was cool and interesting, or okay, I liked that, but I didn't like the what happened from it, or okay, this really worked for me. So I just kind of got in the headspace of I'm just going to run experiments and see what happens. And over time, it's grown into something that has been beyond my wildest dreams. But when people talk to me, because, and I mentioned this to you earlier, people ask me all the time, well, how do I build a real estate portfolio? Like, walk me through it. I'm like, I have no idea. I know how I utilize my mindset as a tool so that way I could create the conditions so I could build the real estate portfolio without having to be the person who pulls all the levers.
Yes, absolutely. CG, when you were talking, I'm like get my all my hair is raising over my body because I relate to every single thing that you said. And it's having that vulnerability. It's just raising your hand saying, I need help. Because I know that I have tried to mask, oh, I know what's going on. I know how to do this. I know how this system works. When at the end of the day, I don't. And it's like that, it's that imposter syndrome that holds us back because we want to come across like we know how to value ourselves, or we know what we're worth, or we know how to make money. But at the end of the day, if we're not feeling confident and we're not able to have that vulnerability and say, hey, I need help, that is the biggest step. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I know, we try to feel like we have it all together. We try to feel like we have all the answers. And this is a growing, it's every day we're growing. So
Yeah.
I,
And you mentioned confidence, and I remember saying to my mentor, like, I don't feel confident. And he's like, you shouldn't. You don't know what you're doing. Why would you feel confident? You'll get confident through the reps. And I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, I just felt like I deserved to feel confident in this space that I hadn't put any effort into growing in yet. And there's such a disconnect in that. And so him just saying to me, like, yeah, of course you don't feel confident. You shouldn't. You don't know what you're doing.
yes, yes. And even though that's hard for us to hear, that's such a beautiful thing. I mean, that's when change happens, is when that awareness is there, we ask for that help, and then we receive it and we apply it. And it's humbling. It's a very humbling experience.
It
So,
absolutely is.
so CG, as you now, you're on this trajectory of getting all these tools and tips, and you know how to reach out to mentors and ask for help. But what would you say to someone right now who is in your position that may not know, may not have a mentor, that may not know where to find the tools? Where would you advise them to go look for things or find a mentor?
I think there's so much free access to mentorship right now. I imagine just this conversation is a free tool for people. I think podcasts are a great place to start. I recently read a book, it's a newer one. It's called The Psychology of Money by
Mhm.
Morgan Housel. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. That was a great book, especially to really kind of take on the different ways we look about money from like a mental construct. A lot, like I said, unfair advantage and the Cash Flow Quadrant book were the first ones I read. So there are ways to do it in bite-sized increments.
Yes.
And nobody is at a loss for information. I think sometimes we're at a loss for the motivation to seek out the information. But if you're really desiring like some sort of shift in your relationship to money, there is a plethora of information on the internet in terms of books, YouTube, like you name it, it's all available.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. CG, I've watched I mean, to have discipline being a business owner as you are, every single day you have to show up. You have to show up for yourself. You have to constantly be learning. How did you learn your work ethic, or how did you learn your discipline around just making sure that you were getting knowledge? I know a lot of us we kind of need more structure and discipline, but how would you feel like this has helped your work ethic and your day to day?
Sorry, I think I've probably always had a level of discipline, but I had a mentor say once, how people know you will dictate the wealth and the opportunities that come your way. And that really struck something in me. And so I am always taking inventory of, well, how do people know me? How am I showing up? Am I reliable? Am I keeping my word? Am I doing the things that I said I would do? And discipline creates freedom. Most people are like, I want freedom. It just sounds so nice to say, but freedom really exists in discipline, like discipline built over time. And so I am always coming at, I mean, like so much of what I do from a place of like, how do people know? I want more opportunities and prosperity. I don't know about you, but I do.
Yeah.
And so I always am looking at how do people know me? How can I shift the way I show up so that way I, am known in the way that creates the conditions for me to continue growing and thriving. And so if someone, I guess it doesn't, and again, I feel like I've always had a level of discipline. I think that comes relatively naturally to me. But I think if you want freedom, discipline is a must.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must.
Absolutely. Discipline and consistency too, which go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I want to commend you, CG, because you have been a mentor to me, whether you know it or not. That I follow you and I see what you do, and it gives me motivation to keep going. So thank you for being that great example. I shared that one of my biggest things with money is that sometimes I feel greedy or selfish by leading or talking with money. But as far as your mindset, any last words of just how you can talk about how you love talking about money through the rooftops. How can we get to that point of that confidence?
I just think money creates choices.
Yes.
And it creates opportunities. And so like so oftentimes people are like, I just want to help people. It's like, okay, great. How are you going to help them? Probably with money. I mean, you can help them cross the street if that's your jam, like by all means do it. But in a lot of ways, money creates change. And so I am drawn to having choices in my life. I am drawn to freedom. And I understand that money is the precursor to a lot of those things. So I've never been someone who looked at it as like money is the root of all evil, and that's never been my jam because I just always understood, well, okay, like there's choices available to me with income. And so whatever it is that someone is striving for, whether it's choices in their personal life or choices to give more,
yes,
creating that kind of money movement is really, really important.
Awesome. Well, CG, thank you for your time today. I know that I can learn so much more from you. I know that I got some takeaways, and I look forward to seeing you and your growth with money, and just want to say thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us.
Oh my gosh, well, I adore you, Story, so thank you.
All right. Thank you, CG. Thank you so much, CG. Just a wealth of knowledge. And it just makes me feel so much better that we are not alone. I mean, all of us have these mindset, these beliefs, and we always compare ourselves to other people that are doing it. My goodness, that just comes so naturally to them. Or how can they just talk so freely about money and sharing the opportunity? And sometimes it doesn't come natural to us. But you know what? It takes practice. It takes listening. It takes learning from other people of how they've been able to overcome their mindset. So this, if anything, is just take a look in the mirror and get aware of what is holding you back when you want to start talking about money. What is going on in your head that is holding you back, that's not making you feel that confidence? And we are going to be providing more tools, tips, strategies. I want us to fill our toolbox with every single thing that we can so that we build that confidence, so that we feel great about talking about money and sharing the opportunity with First Fitness. Next week, we have a special guest that's going to be coming on to talk to us more about our diet, about our bodies in and out. How can we love ourselves through our nutrition, our diet? I'm so excited for you guys to learn from our special guest and from Nigel. So stay tuned for next week's Love Yourself webinar. But what we can do right now is we know it is Share the Love Month. Free enrollment the rest of the month. So all the people that you have thought in your mind and you wanted to bring along with you as you get motivated, as you get your mindset right, as you start loving yourself, share the love with your friends, with your family, with your neighbors. There is so much value into sharing our incredible products and the wonderful opportunity to make a residual income with First Fitness. So share the love month. We love you at First Fitness. We want you to love you at First Fitness. And we will see you next week.